All right, ladies and gentlemen, another Voice of Yamato episode. I believe this is number 43. I am honored to be joined by currently the first place BDS. I have Coach Striker and I have Adam with us. He's not here, he went to the bathroom, but he's coming to join us soon. We can start off with you, Striker, because I know Adam's history. You know, I know Adam's history. He did the whole doctor thing, and then he decided to play, and then he went LFL 2, and then LFL 1, and then won EU Masters, and you were part of this journey. Striker, what was your journey before League of Legends? How did you get involved into League of Legends?
So on my part, I was always kind of involved in the game casually, I would say. I was a player like every one of us, I guess.
Yes.
And I was not good enough to be pro, you know. So I had a different career path. I used to be a sales engineer before joining Chasy. And basically, during the COVID, there was this lockdown situation that gave everyone the freedom or not freedom, it depends how you see it, to work from home, right?
Yes.
And in this moment, I could, let's say, multitask and deep into League of Legends competitive a bit more than I used to do because, well, I was from home, so I would talk with people from the scene and what's not. And eventually, I joined KC to help the staff that was in place, first to help a player, and after that to help the team in general. And I was basically doing this on the side. And the year after, Yamato and Kotek came to me and asked me to be the head coach for the team, which I accepted. And I went for 1 year with Adam that is here and everyone that was in this great adventure, combining both my sales engineer job and KC, because I was still working remote. So it was really convenient. And in a sense, I think I got really lucky, you know, to have this opportunity at this timing. It's something that I think is something I'm grateful for, because it's not something that I earned or anything. It just happened, you know. And during this time, we had a great year, and then I transitioned full time into coaching at the beginning of not this January, but last time.
Yes.
Last year. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Sales engineering. I don't even know what that partakes. Is there any crossover that you can add into League, or?
I mean, not really. I mean, it's pretty different, but there is one part that is both about managing people, I would say, and helping them improve in their craft. So on one hand, it's salesman, and here it's a player, so it's kind of different. But there is still this aspect of having a team and helping them to grow, create processes, make sure that you have your KPI in check and that everything is running smoothly. Performance part. There is a competition part also with other people and other companies. So, the support is different, but I guess the idea is the same, you know.
No, it's interesting that always the business of people finds a way to be a part of everything, no matter where you go. Because in the end, all business comes from just working together with people, interacting with other people. I think
that's true, actually.
There's crossovers everywhere. You know, I remember I talked to people that played handball professionally. I don't give a shit about handball, but then when I hear them talk about the sport, a lot of things begin to make sense. So it's always fun to hear from different angles. You guys,
there's stuff that are kind of combined and work in both ways, you know.
No, for sure. Sorry, I wanted to ask. You guys have your careers have kind of been intertwined. You know, it's like 2021 was a big one. What was your first impression when you guys met each other, and how was the first initial year of, I guess half year of working together?
It was a bit special because we're online, but go ahead, Adam.
Yeah. You want me to start? I mean, to be honest, like I've repeated to like a lot of people. I think when I back in the days with Casey, I was kind of, you know, an NPC in the team, like you know, the guy with like zero experience, full passenger. Like the guy, you just expect him to click, and you know, I did click, so
yes.
So we happened to win everything. But you know, I don't have, you know, that much memories about like coaching, etc. To me, I was just passenger. I was just happy to be there. I was just clicking when I needed to. In hindsight, I didn't have like, you know, that much opinion about like a striker's coaching, you know, in KC.
And now
I
he
was
hates
just
it.
here. Yeah. I was just here with playing. Like honestly, if you told me, like for example, 5 months ago, where I still wasn't with Striker anymore, what happened with Striker and Casey, I legit would say I have zero opinion about him. I don't remember anything.
Yes,
This is legit like the true state. So, but still happy to be like reunited with him because we're still in like this kind of friendship going on. So it's always I mean, when you know you have like a friend in your team, and if you manage to mix it with try hard environment, I think you can be like really efficient and productive. So that's what I'm like proud of what we are doing right now, I would say.
Striker, what was working with an NPC?
It was quite a good NPC. It was good for an NPC. I know NPCs that are not as good, you know. No, it was great times. It was my first experience as well for Adam. It was low-key, I would say the first, even though he had teams in the past, but not at the same level, right? And it was just great. He was just here, happy to play his champions. It was, in a way, easy because we knew what Adam's strengths were, and it was really clear, you know. So using him inside the team, I think, was easy. It was not, like the whole year was at times complicated because since this year we won everything, people have a tendency to think that it was all rainbows and shine, you know. But I do remember that at some moments it was difficult internally, and that we had to go through some moments to understand what we needed as a team during this spring split. But Adam was always really already willing to work, you know, and to add champions to his pool even back then, or to take a role that is needed from him, from the team. So it was just good times all around. Good times.
That's good. I'm curious because I've never had that experience besides when I was in Sandbox. I had to coach online for a brief period, like 3 weeks, and I kind of hated it. I'm curious from your standpoint during the COVID era, most of the things that you guys was online. What are some of the challenges that are different from working in person? Because I can react off of, if I see a player's neck after working with him for a week, I know what his state of mind is. You know, if I don't see them, it's more difficult to work. So what were the challenges of working online for both of you?
I would say the first one was Adam's cat unplugging his PC, or like his screen. I don't remember, but it happened a lot actually during screens. I don't know if you remember that part, Adam, but it was happening a lot, this cat. But no, more seriously, I think, well, personally, I had the chance for it to be my first coaching experience, so I didn't have something to compare it to. Mm-hmm. So in my view, I guess it was normal. But after a few years now, I see the difficulties and the challenges that it brings, at least on the emotional level. I think, you know, it can be hard to tackle every situation perfectly when, let's say, you have a bad scrim that is going on and there is some arguments between players or whatnot. If you are in the same room or in the same office, it's easy to, after 1 hour or something, to just, I don't know, like discuss it, have a joke or go eat together, and then the tension is already out, right? But when you work online, let's say you have a terrible day of scrim, everyone disconnects, and then everyone is kind of isolated, right? And then if you are not careful, I think as a coach, what can happen is that maybe some players DM like each other. I know it happens also offline, but online there is more this tendency, I guess. And I think we were lucky to have people that were honest to like not, to share the issues that they had with the team. But I think it is a risk when you are online to have these kind of things where people just band together against someone or something. And I think it's the biggest thing, this emotional thing. Also, you can't read the player faces. Last year at Chasy, something that I implemented was face cam during the scrims and during the practice to help, but it's not the same as being in person for sure.
Yeah. No, it's easier to escape everything. Adam, yes. On your end, do you during your time of playing online, do you prefer it? I remember our first best of 5, you had to play from home because of the whole COVID situation. That was a whole mess. What was your impression?
Well, since it was like my first experience in Chasy, it was online, and back in the days I had like my apartment with my girlfriend, so I mean, as I said, like I was, a complete like NPC passenger. I was there for scrims. I was just playing. So I mean, to me, like I was not. I mean, I didn't have like the feeling that I was like committing my entire life into it. I guess it feels like a bit weird, but I mean, I was just playing my game, and we're just like winning everything. Everyone was going well, even though we were online. We didn't really have that big issues. We've had some issues, but it was being fixed kind of quickly every time. So that helps the process pretty fast, honestly. But besides that, now since I got like the experience now of what it feels to playing offline, I can definitely say that and playing offline is so much better. Like even when I'm playing like on stage and I'm playing official games from Berlin office sometimes, like it happened two or three times this split. It feels weird. I feel like I'm just happy to be there with my teammates. I just want to meet them every day. I want to be able to bring some positivity in the team environment. I wanna be able to talk to them man to man. Sometimes if I need to say something to them, I wanna be able to coach the coaching staff as well man to man. I mean, all this type of stuff that are like big advantages compared to playing online, in my opinion. Because online, I feel like the human part is missing in a team, which is for me one of the main thing that you need to work on, especially as a team, especially as a new team like we are right now. The human team is really important, and the social links that you need to create as well between individuals is pretty important as well. So to me, playing offline, sorry, is the thing you want the most, I would say.
No, for sure. Like I can't even begin to imagine it. I was just kind of surprised when they announced that EU Masters, everything is going to be played online. So I feel like some of the teams that are actually have access to an office and can bootcamp together, spend time together, should have a big edge coming into the competition. I imagine a lot of the TCL teams still have gaming houses, and I think that this can potentially create an advantage if you manage the situation good. Adam, I wanted to ask, in the context of you, I listened to you speak about Oscarinin, and you sympathize with the situation about how big of a shock it is to jump into the LEC and move to Berlin and to take in everything at the same time. Can you tell more about your experience from your perspective? Obviously, I have clear memories of us working together for the first time in Berlin in Fnatic. Yes. Can you elaborate more on your experience, the first initial one, when you joined Berlin and you got the call up to join Fnatic back in 2021?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, imagine you're just a 19 years old guy. You've played one split in URL or several splits. I mean, doesn't matter the amount of splits, to be honest. And suddenly you're being asked to move to Berlin when you live in France already, or like in Oscarinin perspective, it's in Spain. You're asked to move to Berlin suddenly. In one of the greatest org in the LEC right now, which is Fnatic, right? Which has one of the biggest fan base. You're being asked to move. You're being asked like to scrims. You're being asked to create social link with your teammates. You're being asked to be straight in the tryhard environment. You're being asked to not to choke on stage. You're being asked way too much at the same time that sometimes it can be like overwhelming. If you don't have the mental prepared for that, I believe it can be really hard to handle, especially during the first week. I mean, we could see Oscarinin didn't have a really good first week, but he managed to adapt now. So, I mean, as I said, like during the PGL on the LEC, I believe he's a good player. He's a really good laning player, and I believe he can go really far if he managed to keep his mental on the right place, in my opinion. Yeah.
No, for sure. It's interesting how I think the perspective of a lot of organizations is beginning to change in terms of how you bring players to Europe, because it's so easy for teams to look at the player in a specific context. For example, in your context, Adam, you are doing well in the LFL, you were doing well in EU Masters, and then we pulled you out of there and we just tried to plug you into this very tense situation, right? And we managed to get to second place. We managed to go to the World Championship. You managed to squeeze a lot out of it. It was a good experience, but it's definitely like a big challenge. And I think a lot of that process lies on, of course, the organization to prepare players for what's to come. From your perspective, Striker, you were in the LFL and then you moved now into, of course, BDS. In terms of what your position is in BDS, could you elaborate more on what you're doing in the day-to-day so I can have, all of us can have a more clearer idea of what you do?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm assistant coach alongside Menkyu, that was already working with GoToOne, the head coach of the team last year in LFL. And regarding my missions, what I enjoy being here is that it's pretty wide, right? And I think it can work this way because, well, we came in the LEC at the same time with GoToOne. We have similar coaching experience in the sense that we had 2 years in LFL as head coach and we are competing against each other. And so it was quite clear, and he told me straight up that for him, there is, of course, like different status, but that I would not be limited if I joined, in the sense that I would have my opinions in draft being heard, or like in review, I could tackle any subject at any moment. If I want to do a presentation on any kind of theme or concept, I'm not limited on this aspect. And of course, we work together and we have discussions about what I should bring and when I should be like doing something in particular. But I feel like really free at BDS, in the sense that I can tackle a lot of subjects basically, and I think we do this kind of all of us in the coaching staff. You know, we don't have clear responsibilities regarding like, let's say, the full week of practice. Of course, when it comes to like the actual official game, there is some people that are assigned to draft, some people that are assigned to scouting, some people that are assigned to individual coaching for some matchups, stuff like this. But overall, I don't have a clear mission. I just touch on everything, basically.
Okay. All right. So how big is the BDS staff now with the backroom staff?
So we are 3 coaches, 1 performance coach, 2, let's say, general managers / directors, and there is 1 that is more a team manager also. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people for the staff, or 8 maybe. And then there is a content team, but it's not linked to the performance, I guess.
Okay. That's a pretty decent chunk staff. It's good. Yeah. It's good. Yeah. The more the merrier, as long as everyone has the right intentions. Before we head into the success story that is BDS in 2023, I wanted to ask you guys about 2022 from both ends. I think on the end of you, Striker, of course, you guys won EU Masters in spring, so it wasn't like a disaster year. But on the other side for you, Adam, 2022 was a rough one. And then, of course, going back to the LFL and restarting. How was this whole kind of rebirth process for you, Adam? Because I feel like now that you're coming into the league, I can recognize in terms of the patterns that you play that even in the way you play, you seem different and more mature in the way that you approach a game. I remember many conversations we had when we worked together. We were always talking about how to play around jungle and how to connect with the team in order to leverage the snowballs that you could create on your unique champions. And I can see that you are taking over games in a more different way. How have you experienced this rebirth of yours, and how have you reshaped your perspective in the last years coming into this one?
Sure. I mean, when you take a look at my career from the beginning, it had always been wins and no losses. I don't consider like what happened in Worlds like as a loss, because to me it was already like the biggest win of my career to being there. So even though we didn't make past group stage, I'm still like giga happy about the fact that I actually went here anyways. Besides that, what happened in BDS Spring last year, it was the first moment where I was experiencing like losses in my career. Like it was happening, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to change. So I just had to tank it and just being sad about it. And then like you just add the fact that after that I had to go back to the LFL, so I got demoted for summer. So honestly, this was a really challenging moment for me back in the days in terms of my mental. I had to keep it in the right way because I'm a guy that likes to compete. So in any like no matter what would happen, I will just try to make sure that my mental will be there because I actually knew that I deserved more. I knew that I could do better. So I wanted to make sure that I will get my place again in the LEC no matter what, because I want to show people that I might not be the guy that they believe I am, you know. So this was my battle back in the days. I managed to end first. I mean, second in the LFL, second in the U Masters. So in the end, it was a good run. And thankfully to BDS, they offered me a new opportunity to prove myself in the LEC. And the trust that they gave me, I make sure that it won't be wasted. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm doing also it for myself, but it is also really important to me that everyone who gave me their trust in this project right now don't feel that this trust will be wasted or thrown to the bin for no reason, because they will be like, oh, he doesn't care, not he got 6 in the LEC, he's back, he'll just be full chilling. No, like my mindset is not that. I'm here like to compete. I'm here to go the further I can, and I'm here as well like to perform and to show that I am someone.
I want to ask you a little bit deeper, Adam, in terms of what characteristics you found are important and what you've, let's say, changed, right? You've gotten a new chance. I must imagine it's because you have changed your approach in some kind of way, maybe changed what you focus on, maybe change your view on what your responsibility is as a player. How would you say that you've changed now coming into 2023, getting this new opportunity? What is this so-called new Adam in a shape or form? You're still the classic Adam with the Olafs and the Dariuses and the Garens, but what have you added to your weaponry, so to speak?
I think everything that I've added low-key comes from everything that happened in the LFL, going through all this mental battle, and also gaining those knowledge, experience about the game in the LFL, which, for example, Goto and Menkyu, which are currently my coaches right now, they really did bring me a lot. And all that they have like taught me, I try to now implement it in my gameplay. That is now helping me a lot. Like I've got a lot of experience now in the gameplay that now helps me to be a better person really in game, to be a better player as well. Besides that, I've also learned how to be a better teammate in the LFL. I've learned how to be a better teammate. I've learned how to bring positivity in the team environment. I've learned how to be like the teammate on whom you can count if you have trouble in game or out of the game. I really worked on my human side, I would say, which I was not doing when I was in Fnatic and BDS Spring. I was, like I said, like probably a passenger. I didn't know how to react in when we were like facing some problems. But now I really put the effort in reacting to solve the problems. I wanna put out the problems and try to fix them the fastest we can, because I want my team to compete. I want my team to be in the try hard mode as well. I want, if one of my teammates try hard, I want the 4 others to try at the same than the first one. So it is like really important to me that I want to make sure, just everyone is on the right mindset, and I just want no problems in our team. I just want everything that goes really smoothly. Like the dynamic needs to remain the same, and this is, I would say, the biggest changement I have done in my last career, I would say,
Okay.
in my last year.
I've heard some snippets of the voice comms of BDS, and the way you talk in game seems like you've found through this change you've found a new level of confidence. Because when I hear your voice in terms of how you feel the game is going to be played out, that's also for me working with you so long time ago is kind of a new perspective. It's good to see that growth in terms of the leadership you're taking. Striker, on your end, you work with Adam during his so-called NPC time, that he called it. I didn't call it that. And now in this change, what are the biggest changes you've seen from your perspective, Striker?
I mean, first and foremost, for sure, he gameplay matured. I think he has a way better understanding on the mid-game part than when we were in Chasy, which is completely normal, right? He was a complete rookie back then, and now he's starting to have some serious experience under his belt. Also, during the Fnatic time, he was at the LEC, which is a big level, and he went to World and screened all those teams. And after that, as he said, there is this last year, which I think made him mature on another subject, which is the human side. And right now, Adam is someone that is way more vocal than when I worked with him in the past. He voices his opinion way more on a lot of subjects. Would it be draft, gameplay, the way we work, the attitude. And he's a bit like me in the sense that he can be demanding on the quality of practice sometimes, and he's someone that likes when things are done right, let's say. And in this sense, it's easy to work because whenever something is off during scrims or something is like not happening correctly, it's easy for me to discuss with Adam, but also with other players. But Adam really has this thing that I think he had less in the past, where he's vocal about the team's problem. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's a very important trait. I think that's sometimes that people don't evaluate because they only see what people do in game. But in terms of everything that is done day to day, this is what is going to count. And making sure that you have people in the team that are really caring about the process and making sure that there is kind of a check in mind. To not let the scrims go, because in the end it's like even on the super weekends you play 3 games, but in scrims you play 15, and the scrim games definitely add up. You can only go so far with saying, we're into scrims, but we play better on stage. This is probably the number one sold copium in the whole league.
and we use it from time to time as well.
For sure, yeah.
But, it cannot last too long. At some point, you have to also have serious and productive and good practice with wins on the board, but not only wins, but also just quality games in general, win or losses. But for sure, as you said, the practice is where you spend the most time, so it has to be the most efficient possible. And at the end, I believe that whatever you do in the weekend is just a result of your preparation. It's like when you are in school and you study for an exam, you are not going to discover some new skills in yourself when you are at the exam. It's either you know or you don't know. And League of Legends is the same.
No, 100%. Before we jump into the 2023 season, I want to ask you also, Striker. So the previous year in K-Corp, it was the spring, winning EU Masters, and then moving into summer, and then your off-season. I must imagine, maybe not, maybe you were certain already, you know that you're going to move into BDS. I must imagine, can you tell me your story of your viewpoint of how the summer went down and then moving into your off-season? Because, I've interacted with a lot of the Carmine Corp fans over the last couple of weeks, because I've been reviewing the K-Corp games, and they are very, ferocious and passionate, and, it comes... It comes in waves. Like these are the craziest fans that I've ever interacted with. I want to ask you about your experience in summer, and then your transition to BDS. Did you feel secure that, or was BDS already talking to you? How did everything go down for you in summer as a whole?
So in summer it was way harder than in spring. I felt like after we won the EU Masters, there were some issues that were in spring that we could, let's say, band-aid, or like maybe support and be okay with. But I think for the whole year it was not sustainable, and it's probably on my hands, my responsibility to not have find the solutions. But it was something that was quite hard to manage. We tried a lot of stuff internally, and eventually the team didn't get to the level that it needs it to be at as Carmine Corp, and it was just honestly a failure and something that I learned from. So I just took it as a way to learn for me, personally. And I think that everyone at KC did the same. So hopefully it will be for the greater good if we look at it in the future years. And for my off season, I was not secured at all actually anywhere. So I discussed with a few teams, and I do believe, even though I'm not 100%, that if I was not in BDS, I wouldn't be in the LEC right now. So for me, it's like another reason to be grateful for where I am. I think, again, it comes down to something that I don't have control over. If BDS didn't want me, then I would not be here, probably still in the LFL, which I wouldn't mind, but it's really nice to be able to work and compete at the highest level. And the fact that it ends up happening, and that the only team that low-key trust me is the one where there is Adam and a total of 3 French players and 2 from which I did work in the past before, is really, I think, again, something that is not normal in the positive way, in the sense that it could have been any team and it ends up being this team where I feel like really connected and close to the players. And it just, again, something that I'm grateful for. I was not really stressed during the off-season because I always see esport as something that will not last. And if it does, it's nice and all. But if it doesn't, I would be completely fine to call it and to have just this like adventure in my life that I can look back to in the future. And so far, it's not finished thanks to BDS. So I'll just keep working really hard to make sure that the trust they gave me is being valued, or like bring results.
Yes. No, I appreciate the level of humility that both of you guys shared, that you appreciate the opportunity that is given to you, because esports, in a way, with the limited spots that are available, you need a bit of luck, but luck is where opportunity and preparation meets, right? And you have this opportunity now, and you just pour your heart out, and there's cases where sometimes that is also going to be something that brings you down, and then you just jump back up again. And I think when I think of BDS, think of Adam and his resurgence, Crowny as well. He fell down a couple of times, had tough years. It's great to see that level of character and humility when a person is willing to put in the work to come back in and to do it in a different way and to do it right and to really leverage the experience, because as you mentioned yourself, esports can be very cruel. You can have a bad year, bad split, maybe even bad 2 games, and all of a sudden this is how people are going to frame and remember you. But I think that I'm not the one to say that anyone deserves a second chance, but I think if you have the capacity to grow and to learn and come back the right way, you can have stories like the BDS one. I'm curious always as a person, when someone tells me that they've grown and they've learned. I want to press you a little bit, Striker, in terms of your summer split. What were some key lessons for you as an individual, if you can answer this, of course? Because it's like these conversations for me is like reading a book. I can have a chance to add something to my own repertoire, and I can also experience more through your words what you went through.
I would say it's to probably trust my guts, in the sense that after spring, I did have the impression or the feeling that even when we were, I believe, after week 2, we were 3-1. I don't think we were a great team by any mean. I think we just knew what worked for us and from spring, and we kind of band-aid the team with these kind of things. But I knew that as soon as either the patch would change or people would start to figure us out, also like the motivation will come down eventually, or some things like this will happen. I knew that it was not going to be a great split, and at the time I thought of leaving and just give my role to someone else that could bring either a new dynamic or a new vision or a new way to play, I don't know, or a new way to work with players. Because I just knew that in some aspects it was not going to be solved. And there were things that I wanted to change, which were not possible at the time. And so I finally tried to meet in the middle and to do my best with the situation that was not fitting for me, and that was not allowing me to be happy with the way we worked as a team. So I think I should have pulled the trigger earlier, on this aspect, and let the head staff put someone in my place to bring a new voice to the team. I think it would have been the best for Karmine Corp as a whole. And so it's something that I do regret, but it's also a lesson. It's also a lesson for the future to know that if I have kind of studied every opportunity / option that there is for me and my group, there is sometimes the need to put yourself back, or like to just leave the ship to let someone else take the leading of it. And I think it was probably the thing to do. And maybe it wouldn't have changed much. Maybe the results would have been the same. But on my side, I had this feeling, in summer already, that it was going to be a really tough split. And so I wish I just had pulled the trigger immediately.
Okay. No, I can definitely relate to that. Back in 2017, I left Splice between summer and spring, basically spring and summer. And the circumstance was as well that something in the dynamic needed to be fresh and new. I could maybe replace a player, but nothing really stood out as something that was fair and right, because we had played together for 1.5 years, and we also got to that phase where we started to band-aid solve, and we did decisions that are more short-term based rather than long-term based. Because usually when you're faced with that situation, either you break everything apart and you risk it, or you kind of band-aid solve it in order to just make it through. And it's very similar to also my story from last year in Fnatic, where we had there was changes that I wanted to make mid-year that didn't really go through. I didn't have permission, whatever. And then we're there fighting for our survival in the playoffs, and every game is just fighting for survival. And you make kind of compromises that you really don't believe in, that go against maybe your values and principles, just to make people stay sane, so to speak. Or you're doing draft decisions that are just for the short term, and then eventually you're going to reach a point where you reach a ceiling, and you know that you've already made your decisions in terms of how you're going to approach things. That's, I think, in the end, the foundation you build in the beginning and the culture you build in the beginning is what defines it all. Because in the end, all of the issues that come through a split, the best way you can prepare, it's like the worst thing a team can do is, oh, we lost a game, oh, we need to change everything, we need to do whatever. Yeah. Or we won a game, let's be chill, let's be lazy and go this direction. Everything needs to kind of be set in the tone and the culture. So I'm curious for you two, considering the majority of the team, you guys played the LFL, for Adam on your end, Crowny as well, I believe the staff as well. What were the core values that you guys carried over now to, of course, the LEC that defines how you guys work in the day-to-day?
Go ahead, Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think the values are pretty, I would say, natural to each individual, so you don't really necessarily need to like point them out before really working on your work ethic. But I think the main thing is that that you can just say whatever you want to anyone, without them like taking it like too personal, because it comes from at first it comes from an objective opinion, and also like trying to help also each other. So to me it's like really important that no one takes personal everything that you can say to them. With that you can for sure improve your work ethic already by a lot. Besides that, I think it's also important to spend time with your teammates. I would say we do like to spend times a lot outside of the game. We try to do a team activity like daily. We implemented that in our team. We can do, I don't know, escape game. We can go karting. I mean, we do like activities. Sometimes we can even go like restaurant after scrims. You know, like to just spend time together to just talked about like other subject than League of Legends, for example. It is really important that as a team, like you feel that you know, you have already your teammates, but you can feel that you also have teammates that you can talk to. You can have teammates that you can spend time with them and enjoy it. I think those are probably the main keys for a team environment to work and for a work ethic to be like really efficient, I would say.
On your end, Striker, yeah.
I mean, I will add up on what Adam said, but first, I completely align with what he said in the sense that something that is that really stood out to me quite fast in this group is how honest we all are and ready to talk about any issue. I think sometimes people can be afraid to hurt each other's feeling in a team setting, or to be painted as the bad guy of the group or something like this. And because of that, they kind of return themselves from talking about gameplay issues, for example. And I think in our team, it actually never happens, at least midterm, you know, and there is always something that is said either from the players or the coaching staff when something is wrong. And sometimes we are really not agreeing with each other. We can argue, and strongly even, but in the end we do, I think we are enough close for this to not end up being personal at any point. And if you compare to some teams, I do think that we do spend a lot of time together. The players and the staff are required to be at the office at 11, and we finish at 10. So I know that for some teams, after they end up screaming, they will maybe talk a bit and like have a conclusion for the day, but then they will just go home, right? And everyone will go to its separate apartment or something. It's not the case for us, and so we do have to spend a lot of time. And since we spend a lot of time, I think we are close to each other. And because we are close to each other, we feel like it's easy to talk to each other and to address the issues. So it's kind of a positive circle. And I think it's something that is needed in esport, because if you don't have this kind of closeness, it's hard to demand to the players to be at the office for such hours or to work that much, you know. But because, of course, they want to have also some fun and some moments that are less stressful. So the best way to achieve both is to have friends or people that you have good relationship inside your work office. And this way you can just combine both. And I think it's the best of both worlds. And I think, again, that we are lucky and that the group was well designed, because the personality get along really well.
No, I agree wholeheartedly with what you guys have said, 100%. I think it's so important, especially in the context of, it's like people always talk about work-life balance, but if you are in the LEC, your work is your life. It's every waking hour. I'm imagining, Adam, when you go home at 10, you go home to play solo queue. I see you streaming Champions queue and so forth. There isn't really a work-life balance. And if the environment that you work in, which is then, of course, your life, if you can't feel good and derive value and derive importance from it, it becomes very exhausting, and players tend to burn out, and it just moves in a very negative direction. I think that's always the main story. Always when you hear about teams that are doing well, is always that the trust is in place. Everyone trusts each other, and you have a circumstance where people can be honest with each other, because you assume that everyone is coming from a position of trust. Like if Adam is flaming Crowny or something, I imagine that Crowny trusts that Adam has the best intentions, and this is how you have to move forward. Because if you can't bring your ideas into the group, you can't elevate the ceiling of the group to your own level of knowledge or information. And sometimes, sometimes if you are holding an opinion that maybe is wrong, the only way for that to be challenged is to bring it out within the group. And the beauty of team sports is always that it's not about you doing your best, it's about figuring out how 5 players can do their best. And that is always going to look different. And that's why it's sometimes very hard to judge how a player is doing in a specific environment. And sometimes in off seasons you have players, oh, we take this player, he performed this good in this team, we're going to put him in our team, he's going to play equally good. There's so many layers to it that are important in terms of how people are and act.
Especially in a game that is also ever changing, right? You have the social dynamic and you also have this.
100%. In terms of things that are ever changing, Adam still playing the Darius, the Garen, the Olaf. Some people are slowly catching up. Now Olaf is being played after the rework. Adam, in terms of you now coming back into the LEC and the competition that you have in the top lane, what is it? How is your view of top lane in Europe? Do you feel like 2023 has changed things, or do you feel like it's business as usual? Because this is a hot topic always. People say that European top laners go to Worlds and MSI and they just get fucked by the Chinese and the Korean top laners. What is your impression of the skill level currently in Europe in contrast to your own personal skill?
Well, I do believe the level of top lane has increased for the past 2 years. Probably because of like the imports that kind of leverage the level of the whole LEC in itself, I would say. But I mean, to me, the top lane is like honestly really whatever, I would say. Like the main meta is heavily focused into bot lane, to be honest. So you need to have, I mean, right now for teams, I would say that as a team, you're really looking for a top laner that know how to play in isolation the most consistently possible. If you manage to have that, for example, like Photon, I can say me as well, you know, but I'm humble. Okay, I'm humble. But you know, I would say that right now in EU, there's only a few top laners that are able to do that consistently, I would say. And I would say this is the biggest issue that when playing internationally, Europe will be facing anyways, because and the main problem of top laners in EU, they're not playing Jace, they're not playing Cannon, they're not playing GP good enough. They will just playing international tournament. They will absolutely like get smacked, you know, by all these Koreans and Chinese top laners. They will just pop out the Fiora, they will pop out the Jax, which are also being played in EU, but like the level difference between Asian Jax, Asian Fiora compared to EU is like absolutely ridiculous. And I won't even talk about their Jace, Cannon, and GP, which are absolutely illegal compared to. I mean, you know, there's like the specific Asian champs in the top lane that I'm like, no matter what you play in EU, you will never be able to match their level. Probably, I mean, I would say one of the main reason is maybe like the whole level in EU is a bit lower. So of course it's a bit hard to train your Jace Cannon because I mean, you might think that they're good, but if you happen to play internationally, you've never faced someone as good as Zeus, for example, and he will just absolutely smack you without. And before you were thinking, oh, but my Jace is good, I can finally face Asian top players, let's go. But no, like you will obviously get reality check. At the same time, EU top laners are a bit like shaky in the idea of picking those type of champs in stage, because to be honest, it's also hard to execute them because those or I would say Asian top laners, you can only make them work in Asian teams because only Asia know how to make those champion work because they're used so much to play around it. Whereas in EU, it's a bit harder because it's more like a tank meta in EU. Like you play the Gnar, you play the Ornn, you play the Sion. It's really hard to make this Cannon, this Chase work Jace is becoming a bit more meta, but I'm thinking about the Cannon especially, which is way harder than Jace to execute. You need to manage to flank them, and I believe almost no teams in EU are able to make Cannon work as efficiently as Asian teams do. So it's gonna be the same circle again, probably on MSI. Whoever goes there will will be playing against overbuffed Cannon, against Jace, against probably some GPs as well. It's gonna be a bit annoying for the poor EU top laners that will happen to go there. But I do believe every time they're facing, it's also a good training for them. So maybe at some point, after years of training, we'll be able to match them just because of the international practice. Who knows? But for the moment, it's still really hard to catch up, I would say.
Okay. It's interesting because it's always like that when you have your first international experience. It's like you went to the Worlds, of course, you scrim against Nuguri, you scrim against these guys. After this experience, did you change anything in your approach in terms of how you look to improve?
I mean, I remember
the Fiora who pushed you to the second turret.
Man, when I was screaming, I remember when we screamed FPX, bro, Nuguri, what he did to me was oh my god, honestly, I can't. I will always remember what he did to me. I just couldn't do anything. We could just play Gnar Cannon matchup. I play Gnar, he destroys me with Cannon. I do the opposite matchup. Cannon, I play Cannon, he plays Gnar, he destroys me with Gnar. It was impossible matchups when it happened to play range into range champions. He happened to be way too good. And you talked about Ale, he picks his Fiora. The matchup is completely unplayable no matter what I pick. So I mean, at some point you will just be facing top laners that you'll be bro, they're on a whole another level. What can I do, man? I will just stay in EU. I will just be the best top laner in EU and be the worst top laner for Asian teams. So you just play the game, I guess. What can you do?
I remember the specific game where I think first Ale was playing Fiora against your Aatrox. He harassed you. He found you in the bush. You base, and then he walks behind tier 1 and he traps you and doesn't let you go to the turret. You have to TP to the wave. He misses 3 millies. I remember this game. This was a complete psychopath game.
Complete disaster.
Yeah. This was a good one. I remember also Cannon against Malphite. It was also a rough one against Ale. There's some good memories. So what if BDS goes to MSI? You're gonna be scared, Adam? Come on, Adam.
Probably not because I'm I've probably stepped up a lot from gaining those experience of facing ranged top laners. Besides that, I also think that the main weakness of Asian top laners are the fact that I can pull out the Tyrus and the Olaf, which when you take a look, maybe not China, but I would say LCK top laners are really traditional. So they will be willing to play only meta champs and will be probably uncomfortable playing against unconventional picks that I can play. For example, the Olaf, the Darius, or the Set even. Those are the type of champs that LCK are a bit weird about it. So, if I happen to go MSI this split, I probably have a good shot because, I mean, everyone says Juice is so good, but he never faced me yet. So we'll need to see, at some point we'll need to see.
Okay. In regards to a player that is always mentioned when people talk about top lane in Europe is Photon. What is your take on Photon? Because everyone says this guy is the best in top. I can admit I've also said this myself. What is your take on this?
Right now, I would say he's probably the most complete top laners in the LEC right now. I would say he's the best regarding laning phase. I would say he's the most consistent. He's the one that will do his job no matter in which condition he's put it. He will play his Jace. I mean, his Jace is also a bit illegal. But I guess he's Korean, so he can have the passport. But also, it should be illegal to play Jace in EU when you're Photon. To be honest, it's really unfair for the enemy team. But yeah, he's the most complete top laners right now. I respect him a lot, and he's my rival right now. He's actually my rival, and I would like to face him in BO5 because I've only faced him in BO1 yet. and so I would like to see what happens if he tries a bit more during best of 3.
Okay. I feel like when it comes to like Chasy is the other one people talk about, but I remember your games against Chasy. This guy keeps disrespecting you. You played 2 Darius games against Mad Lions. It's
yeah. I mean, regarding Chasy, I think he's by far top 3 top laners, but I don't think he can manage to be consistent in every game. He had some hard games, for example, this split. I think he has his own limits, I would say. I don't think he can manage to be insanely dominant in purely 1v1 consistently. So, but he's obviously good for the top lane Europe level right now, for sure.
I think that makes sense. I think there's been many games where even if he was ahead, managed to not fight as precise as he needs to. I think especially the Jace games when he was playing against G2 in the finals, there were moments where he got punished hard, and you don't really get away with things like this when you're playing Jace. And then also there's been definitely some matchups. I think the games against you stand out the most, where you have Fiora against Darius. This was a very close solo kill in the top side. And then the other game where I believe you had Shio and Maokai backing you up. And I guess the second game he came with the Sejuani and entered your lane for a little bit, but you recovered fine, so it was no problem.
yeah. It was, yeah.
I want to ask you both now in regards to Winter. So you had, of course, the BO3 against Astralis, and it ended in a very cruel fashion. There was the Kled and the Sejuani diving you guys over and over again, and then you move into spring. Things move so fast. You only have 2 weeks until you start over. What were the main takeaways for you guys after your spring split? What were the main points of improvements that you guys wanted to focus on coming into, of course, the spring split?
I will start.
Go ahead.
And to be honest, the fact that we lost against Australia is pretty disappointing. Everyone was feeling really bad about it, I would say. Everyone was also surprised that we lost, all the players. I mean, to be honest, I don't think anyone believed that we could lose against Australis this day. But somehow we managed to lose. And after that loss, we said that we want to make sure that this never happens again. So the mental recovery was pretty fast, and we definitely came up already prepared for the spring. We'll just go for the split. I'm pretty sure we did learn from our mistakes that we did in winter regarding practice, regarding how, regarding like mental, regarding preparation as well. Everything that we've done not in the right way in winter, we'll make sure that it doesn't happen anymore in spring. Especially during best of 3, you have those 10-15 minute talk between games.
Yes.
That during the best of against Astralis was not efficient at all. A lot of panic, a lot of plan changing that were not expected, and that just came out because something bad happened during the previous games. So we're like, oh, we need to change that, blah 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 blah. Completely tunnel visioning on something that happened just for one game when we didn't play our own play style. A lot of panic for no reason. So this is the biggest improvement that we've probably worked on for coming up on those best of 3. We'll just make sure that we'll be there no matter what. Our mentor will be there. We will play the BDS style, and we'll go top 4.
Okay. Striker?
Yeah, I mean, there is the Astralis part, which was obviously the biggest and the final one, and then there is also all the improvement that we had to take from the lessons that we took from winter. But no, I mean, a lot of things changed in the way that we work on a daily basis. I think we added meeting. We try to structure also thinking about draft a bit more, even during practice. We try to have actual objectives inside a day of practice regarding what we want to practice or what champion we would like to face or stuff like this. I think we did it also in the past, but I think right now it's way more precise, if I can say. And we try to just be more efficient with the time that we have in one day. And regarding the Astralis series, I think, as Adam said, the in-between games had to be improved, and I think we had to go through this moment that was a bit well, it was a shame for us, clearly, because even though people, when they see BDS and Astralis facing each other, back then maybe they don't even have a favorite because of the past year result, right? But in our head, we should have gone to top 4. It was really objective, and the fact that we didn't manage to was really disappointing. So yeah, this in-between game has to be fixed, and we'll see if it's fixed when we play against SK. But we put new processes, new rules in place to make sure that we don't deviate from the plans that we originally have. And as I said, we also made sure to have better plan coming into best of 1 and best of 3s by just changing the way we approach practice.
Okay. Very interesting. It seems to have worked so far. 7-2. I'm curious on you guys' take with the format being so unique and different. How, like in terms of it just being BO1s and the importance of draft, you need to tell me. Sorry, I'm getting interrupted. Elena, please close the door. I'm busy. No, I'm busy right now. Please. Pokemon. I'm in a meeting, Elena. Let me just close the door. Sorry, guys.
That's all right.
No worries.
Apparently there's a good Pokemon in the house. It was very important. Full focus on you guys. I was asking, in terms of the format, I feel like it's very hard to judge the strength of teams based off of results, because everything seems very draft oriented right now, and the format is very cruel against the teams that don't figure out how they want to draft and so forth. How do you guys feel about the format and the BO1 system? Has it changed your approach at all, or does it feel like business as usual?
Want to start, Adam, or do I go first?
You can go first.
Yeah. I think the format is really interesting. It's the first time that the league has that, if I'm not mistaken, in the history of competitive League of Legends. I think it has both his upside and downside. I'm still not a fan of best of 1 during regular season. I think you test in teams different things when you ask them to play best of 1 than when you ask them to play best of 3. As a team, as a group of 8 or whatever humans, you don't test them on the same things. So I think it can be really different, the results on best of 1 and on best of 3s. What I like in this format for the region as a whole is the fact that you have one team that know that it will go to MSI pretty early, right? With the winter split winner, basically. And I think that an issue that we could have in the past is the fact that regarding, for example, the discussions on top laners, but I don't think it's the only role where there is a gap individually. As a team and as a player, you have to be in between two mindsets where you want to improve fundamentally and you want to add weapons to whatever you already have because you want to be good internationally, I guess, or at least it's, I guess, how the top teams that have been in the LEC think, right? I've not been in this position so far, but that's how I believe it is. But at the same time, you want to perform in Europe. And it's hard, I think, to find the balance. But when you already secured your spots, maybe now you can actively take more time to improve, to diversify, and give up maybe some games in spring, or like, you know, basically prepare yourself for international event with your mind that is more in peace with this aspect. So I think this is a good thing from the way the splits are organized. At the same time, the fact that there is 20 players that don't play more than 9 games on stage, I think, is in a way bad for their improvement and bad for the region in the sense that, well, it's 20% of the player base of LEC that cannot improve that much during 1 year.
Yes. No, it's like some teams have 6 weeks. Excel have worked 6 weeks. That's crazy to think about in the context of that. And then coming into summer, it's like a mountain that they need to climb in order to come back, because that's
also
very
with
tough.
Different players as well, because usually when you're out, there is such a long downtime that you take it to make changes, right? In the players that you have. So like the players that come in spring for like some teams don't even have the past experience of winter, or the ones from winter that didn't have good splits, they don't even have a chance to actually improve in spring for some of them. So it's I think it's really tough, really hard, and it puts, I think, a lot of pressure. And we definitely felt it when we were in best of one, especially in winter. In spring, I think we were more calm around it and way more confident because of what we already worked on in the past. But I know also for some teams and some players that I talk to that it's way more stressful. And I think you have to be full gas in the practice from the get-go. Whereas before, people would wait a bit and just wait playoff to try out. But I don't think it was already a right thing to do.
Yes. In terms of the standings, do you guys feel like the standings have been honest? Are you guys currently the best team in Europe?
Best of one, right? I mean, I'll just finish on that, and then I'll let Adam talk on this aspect. But I think we have to be realistic about our standing, and I think for a lot of teams, when they had their 3 games of the week, they did like not focus on us more than another team, you know. I don't think they had a full week of thinking about our champion pool, the way we draft, the way we play, especially, you know, for example, we have Adam that is a very unique player and stuff like this. I think people are going to try to figure us out way more in best of 3, to be completely fair, and that it will be way harder. So I will not come and say that we are the best team in the league. We just end up on 9 games having the best record, but some of them were pretty close. So yeah.
Yes. Definitely the game against Astralis. That was a banger. Winning a game against Hextech Soul, that is something else. But Adam had the shy moment on Aatrox, where yes. I think even in that moment, your team didn't seem to believe in you because they were leaving you when you were killing them all.
That's true.
How do you feel, Adam? Do you feel the same as Striker, I imagine, or do you have some other take?
I mean, like regarding, you know, the new format, as I said, I believe that the moment you try to implement already like the good dynamics in your team, like the good team environment, in those formats, you will for sure like perform more than the other teams that didn't manage to implement that in their team environment. That's why I would say we managed to be able to perform that well during best of 1, because I don't think we like prepare more for BO1 than we do in best of 3. Like we try to we prepare the same no matter in which match we'll be facing, you know. So there's a lot of preparation. I would say that the team might underestimate that we didn't. That gave us actually a good advantage, especially we were talking about like a draft orienting format, which is, in my opinion, really true, because best of 1, like the format is really punishing, and you need to be ready. Actually, you need to be ready. You mustn't underestimate any single opponent. You must prepare for every draft scenario that you can face. You need to be ready no matter what. So I think I'm proud because as a team we did a pretty good job, especially like the coaching staff really did a good job as well. Everyone was in the right mindset of performing during best of 1s as well. But I also align with Striker regarding the fact that best of 3 will be a bit slightly different regarding teams understanding how we play. I believe it is gonna be like a bit more changing matches than best of 1. But at the same time, best of 3 is also a good way for teams like to play traditional. And I'm pretty convinced that playing traditional against traditional, we will end up winning because we'll be better individuals, I would say. And I mean, we'll just manage to win the game no matter what, because I actually believe in my team. So to me, it's not really a big deal. I just believe we will win. I don't wanna like really think too much about losing. To me, I just wanna play the game, and I just expect us to win.
Okay. Your first matchup, SK. What is your take on SK, gentlemen? You guys chose them over Koi, which to me makes sense because in the end, I think Koi it's like when a new patch comes, 2 weeks break, a lot of things can change and Koi can become dangerous. They still have very strong players. You guys chose SK. Could you guys elaborate on why and what do you guys feel coming into the matchup?
Well, I do believe that SK was like they came up strong in winter split, but I think they have their limits as a team, and we knew that we would be confident in playing best of 3 against them. Regarding how they play and regarding how we play as a team, we believe that we had a pretty decent chance on beating them. So we just wanted to secure like the easiest match that we could face for us, in our opinions, because we also chose as a team. And also winning the first best of 3 and it can give us a lot of confidence, that that will be really important for the next best of 3 to qualify for the top 4. So this is probably this was our like mindset. We believed they would be the easiest opponents, so obviously we choose the easiest way to go further.
Okay. Striker?
Yeah, not much to add. I think it was pretty obvious for everyone that it had to be SK. I think also they didn't have the, if I remember correctly, the best end of spring split,
0-3,
so
I believe,
also,
in the last weekend.
So the momentum was not in their aspect. Of course, it can completely reset in 2 weeks of practice. But yeah, we're confident in the read that we had in North Strength. I think it matches them. It matched well with them, even though so far we only played 2 games in official and we lost both. I think we were in a really winning spot until we gave them the game, especially the last one, the first one that we played on stage. I also think that we had a draft that was way harder to execute, and we came that close to actually execute it well enough to win. So yeah, I think Adam talked about our draft that I agree we are decent in spring, but also I also say that the good drafts are based on good champion pools, and the good champion pools are based on the better players. And I think if we look individually against SK, we do have a slight positive matchup in that regard on the individual basis. And so if we do our job correctly as a staff and we come with a preparation that makes it work the best it can against their own style, that is a bit, I believe, more slow than ours, there is no reason to fear them.
Okay. I think that's fair. I believe a big part of SK's weapons has been surrounding the Zeri and the Draven, and I think when it moves past that, they look very inconsistent, especially in how they approach the early game. I think that a lot of their wins have been steals, especially against you guys, where they took some good fights around their Drake preparation. I think that even though you guys were in a very dominant position, I think, if I remember correctly in that game, I think that you guys spent a little bit too much time managing the side of it, being late into the objectives. Is this something that has been a big focus point? Because in regards to BDS, in a lot of cases, been like BDS Nash. Oh, they have Nash and then something goes wrong, or like a setup at an objective that is going to decide the game. I've noticed that there's been some games where you guys have done a good job of leveraging your strength to pressure Nasher, because this is something that we see everywhere. I think this idea of Nash being 50-50, I think, is very wrong, because you can burst it together and you can really impact in terms of what information the enemy has as they're approaching the Baron pit. I've seen this is something that you guys do more and more. Is this something that has been a big focus point for you guys in terms of how you close out your games?
Yeah, it has been. Yeah. It's something that we did practice in Scream. We did try to address every river objective separately and improve on those aspects. So, like the first Herald, the early Drakes, the later Drakes, the second Herald, and the Nashor. And I think it was productive in most cases, and I think it's something that we are better at. We still need to improve in that aspect. We still have also a few days on that, but right now we are not shaking when the team goes into Nash or in official. We are not like, oh, it's going to be bad. I think every player kind of know his role, and even before that, in the few minutes before that, the setup is actually thought about. The lane assignment is also way, I think, more efficient. I think also Adam plays a big part in that. And regarding the teamfight configuration that we had, who comes from where, who is checking the flank, the TPs, stuff like this. I think, yeah, it's going so far so good, and hopefully we can just apply what we practice in Scrim in official. But usually, I don't think we are a team that really joke on stage or anything. If anything, I think the players that we have, they perform better even on stage.
Okay. Is there any team you guys take inspiration from abroad? Is there something that, or is it? I like this process of implementing something new. Is there something you take inspiration from, or do you guys? How do you work? Is basically my question.
Usually, it's about Asian teams here.
Any specific team out there?
I mean, there is a lot of that. I personally watched a lot of top esport. I'm a big rookie fan, you know. But
yes.
I mean, at T1, of course, like everyone, I think, even though it's the draft part, we try to not emulate everything they do, because otherwise you end up playing with weird supports and stuff like this. But yeah, I mean, no RNG, HLE, T1. Top. I like also like OMG in the way they play, but they do have a specific style that also is not completely ours. It depends on the way you draft and the mid-list that you have on mid or not. But any team really, any team that does something that is really interesting, we try to dig and we try to emulate it with our own specific champion pool. But on the map, it can be on the map objective. It can be any team.
Okay. I'm curious now about the other side of the bracket. Brokenblade is someone that has received a lot of criticism in terms of his play because everyone's looking at G2 and they think that they're going to be the forefront for what is European League of Legends. Adam, considering most likely, I imagine you guys are going to beat SK and then G2 beating Koi. What is your take on Brokenblade, and then additionally, if possible, your take on G2 and their strength?
I mean, regarding BB, he's someone that I respect a lot because I've got a lot of experience in facing him from scrims and from official. So this won't be like the first time I will be facing him. But regarding like his performance in G2, I think he's being asked to do the job of a low-key weak side top laner. You know, we will put him under low resources. Hansama Caps will 1v9 the game, and it's completely GG. I think I'm looking forward to see that if G2 maybe can switch their playstyle in trying to put Brokenblade like ahead, you know, in early game and see how it goes. But they've not been doing it so far. So right now I don't have that much opinions on Brokenblade because his perma being put like low-key weak side. So it's a bit hard like to give any thought on him. He just tries to not give a massive advantage from lane, and he's someone that will do the job in mid game. He will be there in team fight as well. I think he's one of the best top laners in team fighting, I would say, in this regard. So I still got some stuff to learn from him, especially as I said, in how he plays the team fight, because I think he's really being really smart about that. But it's still always a good challenge for me to face him, especially in lane, because if he wants to wake up in lane, he can wake up pretty fast. So, and he can be a very challenging top laner to face. So I guess I will need to wait.
Okay. Striker, on your end, in terms of your impression of G2, do you still believe like that G2 is the strongest team and the team to beat in Europe?
I think so, yeah. I think so. I mean, they did drop a few games, but it's what G2 does, right, in the regular season historically. And also, I think after winning a split, it's expected. Maybe they took it also a bit more slow to ramp up and be ready for playoffs, because they will know that they are going to go to MSI also. So maybe this is something that they took into account, and that may also be a reason for some of their struggling. But I think they will be way stronger in best of 3 and best of 5. And I think they are still the team to beat, as you said, in the LEC. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm thinking back at your game. I remember that Adam was playing Renekton into Agragas, and somehow he's managing to get a lane advantage. But then there was the big dragon fight where you guys didn't have your ultimates up, and they punished you guys hard. They seem to be very good and sharp when it comes to the later parts of the game.
Yes.
Have you guys adopted that?
Back.
Have you guys adopted that approach to never surrender games, or do you guys surrender some games sometimes in scrims?
I mean, it does happen, right? Still, but way less than before, I do believe. And I mean, also, I think we do have a team, like regarding players that mostly want to play the game and they want to practice. And I don't think there is anyone in the group that is fast to ask to FF, you know?
Okay.
And of course, sometimes when it's like 10k down, something, it's a scream, you know, you're just going to be like, okay, guys, it's fine, we can FF, and then they will FF. But yeah, we also tried to think about ways to play from behind because I think G2 is really good at it because I have really strong players that can play in between waves and whatnot. But yeah, again, it was a Drake. It was a Drake, like against SK, like against a lot of teams that made us struggle a bit. But hopefully when we face them this time, I think we'll be more ready in this aspect.
Okay. That kind of takes us to the other side of the bracket. Teams that you guys are going to face later on. Maybe you guys are scrimming them. Maybe you can sprinkle information without, condemning yourself about these teams. Astralis versus Fnatic. This is going to be a hype one. The last time they played against each other, we had the leader blind picking Zed and then Yonghun on Blitzcrank completely dominating. I feel like Fnatic played a lot of shutdown champions, what I call them. They played Jace, Thresh, LeBlanc, die once, lose the game. What is you guys' take on Astralis versus Fnatic?
Go first, Adam. It's a really hard matchup, actually.
To be honest, I would say two teams that might be pretty even right now. Fnatic are in a good momentum. I would say they managed to find their team identity low-key. But still, we'll need to see how they will be playing on stage because they've been performing a lot while playing from their facilities. But obviously, playing on stage will be something really different. And last time they played on stage, they didn't manage to perform as a team. So we will need to look at how they will be playing on stage and if they will try to reproduce how they play from their facilities to on stage. So this is the biggest question regarding Fnatic. But assuming they will manage to play the same, then I think the game should be pretty even. Astralis is also a really strong team. They did find their team identity. I think if you look at Astralis, you can say they are a good team. They're a team. They're playing good as a team. So obviously they are something that Fnatic shouldn't underestimate, in my opinion. As the same as Astralis shouldn't be underestimating Fnatic because they're a good team right now, I believe. And I believe no one can really take the advantage on the other. The only advantage I would see from Fnatic would be maybe humanoid. I think if he wants to wake up, he can completely 1v9 this series, to be honest. So we'll need to see if there will be a great humanoid during this series because I believe he will 1v9, but we'll need to see.
Okay. Striker?
Yeah, I mean, I think the two teams are actually quite good right now. I really did like Fnatic approach to draft in winter. I think they were one of the better team in that department. But it's always hard to translate the edge that we have in draft from best of 1 to best of 3. Again, because people have like 2 weeks to read you and they only focus on you. So it goes way deeper in the preparation just by this aspect. And I think that on the Astralis side, they found themselves, as I said, pretty quickly, actually. I think when you have a player as unique as Leader is, it's important to understand what his strengths are and how you can use him, but also how you can adapt as a group and as other players. And I think they did a really good job on that aspect, especially in the mid-jungle department, so this is like the mid jungle is what I'm looking forward to watch. I think it will be an exciting matchup between Astralis and Fnatic because during this year, I think Fnatic was struggling, in the mid jungle connection and the whatnot. But I think right now they do have way more sense in their draft, and that it allows them also to play those 2v2 better. So I think it will be close. It will be close. If I had to put like a coin, maybe Astralis, but I know that Fnatic is also in a good spot to take it, and I know that they're having decent scrims as well.
Okay. I agree with the sentiment that probably Humanoid is the best mid laner to send in against someone like Leader. I think in terms of understanding lane matchups and not being punished by inexperience, I think that Humanoid is a guy that is going to be able to pick LeBlanc into whatever Leader wants to play, or find matchups that are going to make sense and find advantages, because I think that's always what's so interesting. If you push Leader all the way, what is he going to blind pick? And we saw that in the shape of a Zed. While other teams, they try to like pick Lissandra blind on 4, or like they did some crazy shit that made the situation play out very easily for Leader. Another layer of it that brings me concerns a little bit is, of course, the bottom lane, because Kobe and Younghoon have played so well. For me, it's been very hard to judge Reckless's performance on this team, because I feel like he has been kind of a passenger of what is going on. Since you worked with him very recently, of course, last year, what is your take on Reckless and how he potentially will do in this matchup against Kobe and Younghoon that have been really on fire?
I think he didn't have the best winter at all, actually. And I think some of his lack of proactivity still remains. But with the change in support, I feel like they are a better pairing, if I can say. I feel like him and Advien managed to get lead sometimes, and to hold them or not, it's another question, but actually to play in the sense that they will get a lead. And I think they improved in this aspect, for sure they did. But you also have to take into account the fact that, again, it was a regular season, and we don't know which Fnatic will get when we get to spring. I think to spring playoffs. Sorry, I think it can be like in winter as well. Maybe the 2v2s will be hard, but I do believe that they did improve. I do believe that champion pool wise, they also have a bit more options than in winter, so it will be interesting. I do think that the bot lane from Astralis can play more things though, so it will end up being about, can Fnatic understand this good enough and draft 2v2s in a way that kind of close the options that Astralis have, or do they not figure it out and then Astralis can get the edge?
Okay. I think that's very fair. I think in the end, the key thing for me as an additional layer, of course, you guys don't need to touch on this. I'm curious how some of these mid laners are going to be able to play when Azir is out, because I feel like Azir has been kind of a cheat code.
Yeah, I mean, we asked Riot to revert the nerfs. They said no, so we'll see, right? We'll see. No, I mean, we don't have any issue with this. I think, I mean, it was going well for us with Azir, so we drafted it. It's also a good blind, and it has prio. It was kind of a cheat code, I think, in winter that some teams slept on, but we just abused it because it was there and people didn't ban it. But the fact that it's not there doesn't bother us. Actually, for Nuke it's even better. He can just play some other things.
Yes. Nah, even Humanoid, right? Somehow 4-5 got Azir. I like that you guys in your last game just pick Azir 1, 2, 3, drop support. We're not gonna get Azir again for 5. I respect that decision. It seems to me globally on 13.5, it feels the mid laners that can either buy Road of Ages and be happy, or the melee champions like the Yone, the Akali, the Sylas. This seems to be the mid lane meta that is most successful, because it seems like the mages are a little bit too slow with how quick the game is going, because the second Drake, first Drake, second Herald, everything is just so, like, you need to be strong consistently in the game, because if you want to walk into Drake 4 and hope that you reach 2 items you're going to carry on your Victor or your Talia, it can be rough sometimes unless you have a Vi that can of course engage for you. The next matchup, Vitality versus Mad Lions. How are you guys feeling about this? Mad Lions having a messy split, a bit of a crazy one. What do you guys think about Vitality versus Mad Lions?
I would say, Vitality looks really stronger now. I'm assuming they will be even stronger in best of 3 than what they've shown in best of 1s. I believe if a team like Vitality gets time to prepare for a certain best of 3, I'm sure they will just come up really strong. Plus, Mad Lions didn't show a good play style. I would say they didn't play good at all during spring. They almost didn't make playoffs during tiebreak against Heretics. So it was a bit the panic for them, I would say. But at the same time, I do believe that Mad Lions can be a really strong team if they manage to wake up. It will just depend on how well they will feel comfortable on stage, and if they will try to completely reset mental about what happened during best of ones. But pretty sure if they manage to be like the Mad Lions that they played during winter in playoffs, I'm pretty sure that they can come up pretty strong. But still, I would give the advantage on Vitality. But maybe Mad Lions can a bit cheat a top 4. I would say they might lose to Vitality, but they should do it against Fnatic and Astralis. If they really wake up, I believe they should be the second better team of this group.
Okay. Striker, how are you feeling about this one?
I think it's a hard one to call in the sense that Mad Lions can be first really different from Scrim to Official. I think it's a team that has the most variance, let's say, in between those two, and also the fact that they didn't have the best regular season at all, but in playoff they could, like in winter, find themselves and just click together, because I think their players individually are good, even though some of them I think are holding to a regard that is higher than what I would give personally, but I think they have a lot of experience in something that you can't take away from them, right? They have insane experience. So yeah, I think it will be a hard match against Vitality. My bet would be that probably they lose, then they win the second BO, and I don't know if they will go out of groups or not, actually. I think Fnatic is better, than they were in winter. I don't know if they are better than Mad Lions when it comes to best of 3, but Astralis also. I think this group is actually pretty close. I would say Vita goes out, and then I don't know which one of the 3 will take the second spot.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, I think Vita is in best of 3. Maybe they will be the better team, but it could be anyone really. I'm just worried, to be honest, about Mad, because I feel like some issues that they had in winter gameplay and also like in the practice / in the preparation of games, I didn't see them fixing it. Whereas when I watch Vitality and Fnatic and Astralis, they did add things into their gameplay in different parts of the game. So for some of them it was early game, in other ones it was how they approach objective. But in Mad Lions, I didn't see a team that actually improved on a fundamental level, even though it was pretty high at the end of the playoffs in winter, right? But this stagnation during the regular season kind of make me worried.
Okay. No, that definitely makes a lot of sense. It definitely feels like in spring that a lot of teams, including you guys, have leveled up, and I think G2, you give them a pass because they won the split rights, and they took things a little bit slower in the beginning, which is completely fair considering their position. In my mind, it's such a weak break. It's definitely a benefit for those teams that have some more things to figure out, and maybe they can get saved by the patch. But I get the impression that not a lot of things have changed in terms of what people play. Is my assessment correct? Because I don't, of course, scrim.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there is a few more picks, that are there. As soon as you have new picks, you also have new answers that are being explored. But I would say the basis of the meta kind of remain the same. I don't think it's a huge patch, to be honest. But there are a few things that you need to be able to either play or play against, and you need to have a solution for those.
Okay. I imagine mid lane is probably the one that has most changes, but I'm not going to press you guys on that. Of course, you have a best of 3 to play. In regards to, of course, Adam, I know that soon you have to leave. I am keeping it in mind, okay? So don't worry.
No issue.
In regards to if I had asked you guys to do a power ranking, I can kind of guess based on how you guys have talked about the team so far. But we have unanimously put G2 on first. If I ask you guys to, let's say, rate top 4, including yourselves in there currently, of course things can change. You guys can build momentum, you can improve and maybe win everything. right? Of course. If I ask you guys to make a power ranking right now, how would you rate the teams? And let's say just top 4.
Well, I would say without clearly like giving the clear standings.
Of course.
Probably G2, Vitality, us, and who can be the 4th team? I believe Mad if they wake up. But for the moment, since I don't really know, I would probably put either Astralis or Fnatic. Maybe Fnatic over Astralis.
Okay.
So Fnatic, G2, Vitality, and us.
Okay. Striker in agreement?
I would say, yeah, in no particular order, probably something like us, Vita, G2, and I want to say Astralis, but maybe in best of 3 it will be different. But I do trust them to be smart enough to understand that the teams are going to prepare a bit better for their uniqueness in drafts and add things to counter that or to avoid that, I think their players individually are actually really good, So yeah, I would go with Astralis in top 4 and us, Vita, and G2.
Okay. I usually I round off my Voice of Yamato episodes with asking a question that I got from the previous guest, and I had Mac on, and he didn't know that you guys were coming on because usually like I book these ones quite sporadically. They're kind of random and crazy, but he asked the very difficult question of what is the meaning of life? So, gentlemen, what is the meaning of life?
What's the meaning of your life, Adam?
Playing League of Legends.
Okay.
That's it. No, it's that simple. Legit.
I mean,
what about you, Striker?
I don't know. I don't want to make it too long, but it's not a question that I ask myself a lot, to be honest, to be completely fair. But I guess it's to be fulfilled and to make sure that the ones around you are fulfilled. At least is how I see it, Take care of yourself, and by doing that, you will make sure that you can take care of your loved ones, That's, I think, the most important part, but League of Legends is important, as Adam said. League of Legends is really important.
Really
best
important.
of 5.
I agree. I don't know what I would do without League of Legends. I have no clue at all. So,
to be honest,
it's hard for me to disagree with you both. For me, it would be just growth. It's like I think as long as you keep growing from whatever you go through, you'll be ready as ready as you can be for whatever random shit is gonna come your way in life. Because so many things are so hard to predict, and maybe in the afterlife, everything gets measured, but it's so hard to know. Which, of course, leads me to the final part. It's like you guys have to ask a question to do my next guest. You guys need to work together. You guys have worked together super long, so I'm sure you guys can figure this out.
Right, but we don't know who your next guest is going to be, right? We don't know.
We don't know.
I have an idea, actually, Adam.
I have a question actually. On a scale on 1 to 10, how handsome do you think BDS Striker is?
Oh no, that's not a good question at all, actually.
What do you mean?
No, don't put this one.
It's an easy 10. It's an easy 10.
No, we should ask something else. Let's say. Actually, I don't have one.
So we're gonna.
But is it like?
When is your next podcast, actually, Yamato? When is it?
I'm not sure yet. Like I've asked a couple of people. Like maybe I'm going to talk to Cadril or Nightshare and maybe someone that is not related to esports at all. But I'll make sure to show them a picture, the best picture of you.
Okay, can we add one though?
You can
weird,
add a picture or add a question.
Yeah.
Shoot. We can do 2 questions.
Which is. Maybe we can ask who do they or he or she thinks will go to MSI from Europe. So
okay.
2 teams. I mean, one is okay.
Okay. All right. I hope that my next guest is not like after LEC spring. I hope the next guest is in good time. Gentlemen, to round off, I want to give you guys an opportunity. Is there something that you guys want to share? Something you guys is on your heart? This is the most scuffed podcast on the planet. This is the perfect place to share.
You have something to say, Striker?
Not much. Thank you, Yamato, for the invitation. Thank you for the people that support the players and support BDS as a whole. I think they are more and more numerous, and it's really a great thing to see. And thank you for BDS for the opportunity that we have for this year. I feel like we have something special in this group, and on a personal level, I really want to make it count. I want in the next 5 years, when I look back to this year, to be happy, because I think we are really lucky to be in this spot.
From my side, I do believe my parents will be listening this at some point. So, hello, parents. I hope you're well right now. But yeah, well, I mean, I'm just happy to be there. As a general thought, I'm happy to play League of Legends. As long as I can play League, I'm not asking much right now in life. If I don't have League of Legends, it feels like my life is giga bored. So I need my routine with League of Legends. If League of Legends is not in my routine, then I feel like giga depressed. So I will be happy as long as I can play League for now. So I'm not asking much.
Okay. No, gentlemen, I appreciate that you guys took the time. I know that your schedule must be very, very busy. It means a lot to me that you guys came on and spoke to me. It's been interesting to follow you guys in the regular split. You guys are in about 7-2. Could have even been some of those games. Maybe it could have been even the 9-0. It's crazy how BO1s work.
Or 5-4,
Or 5-4, yeah. There was some steals in the other direction too, for sure. But that's the nature of the game in the end. I want to wish you guys continued success, continued luck in the upcoming matches. And of course, you guys are going to 2-0 SK, right? 2-0 clean? Smack them on the head?
That was planned.
I don't know, but 2-0 for sure.
Okay, that's the perfect sentiment to end it on. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time. I'll catch you guys in the finals, because I'll be on the endless desk there. I'll make sure to swing by your room and say good luck.
Nice.
Okay.
Make sure to be here as well.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
very much.
All the best, gentlemen. Bye-bye, yeah?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Okay. All right. That was fun, yeah? What do you guys think? Not too shabby, yeah? Not too shabby. That was fun. That was fun. A little bit of a shorter episode, but of course I don't want to, completely ruin their time, right? Of course, I took a little bit limited. The time is very limited. These guys are very busy. They have aspirations to go to MSI, and it was good to hear their improvement and their involvement in the very successful BDS. They had some interesting takes, They believe in Fnatic against Astralis. I thought this was going to be a one-sided one. Of course, they are speaking from Scrim experience. I didn't want to ask the direct question of Scrim, but I can, of course, assume that these guys are scrimming the other teams on the other side of the bracket. That's the main thing. Thank you again for the invitation. Have a good one. Thank you, Striker. Really, I appreciate it. And I think that... I'm excited for how this bracket will pan out. Nigel said Fnatic are winning 85% of scrims. Yeah, that's very good. That's very good. When it comes to the stage, things are going to pan out differently, but I like this version of Fnatic that has this newfound confidence, right? That is so important. That's super, super important. I would like to take a little break and check on what my girlfriend is doing, and then maybe we'll continue with something. I'm thinking if we should stream EO Masters today. It, of course, starts in about 20 minutes, I believe, and maybe we can be co-streaming it and co-viewing it here right on the channel. We shall have a sniff. Right back, guys. No, I don't have co-streaming rights. I will be co-viewing. Will this VOD be up? Of course. Don't worry. Alright, break done. How about a league game? How about a drink? Nightshare also said that Humanoid is the best EU mid by far. It depends on what metric you look at. I think that Caps is the most complete player.